Hey everyone, we're finally back. Back in my comfortable chair back home. Feels pretty good to be honest, because been on that trip, that BCS trip, for probably first time in a while. Right, in a while since COVID. So it's been great meeting everyone. Now I get to use my home computer and my home recording setup. First time in a very long time. Put it that way. But yeah, we have some results, and you might get to see some interesting results pop up as well. And we'll get right to that. We're going to start off with France first. And here we get to see some Flagbergs, 2 Flagbergs and 2 Avas. Then 1 Nirvana, Bavsagra, and Thegria, and agreed on. But then what actually came first is Alex Kwan with the Ava. Then we got Antoine Hard, Vincent Van der Shea, and Thomas, both with the Flagberg, and then Thomas Edling with the Greedon. And it looks like, you know, the Ava, the release of that promo really is doing very, very well for that deck, which you'll see quite soon, right? Because I think last week, if you were checking the Perth ones, another Ava deck came first by Mark 1. So yeah, really, really doing well. And then for V Premium, we have 4 Gear Chronicles Maker, then 2 Genesis. One was the Regalia and one was Astral Poet. And then we have 1 Narukami and Link Joker. And what actually converted into the top 4 was Joanne Barzak with the Steam Maiden, as well as Theo Mahato, is it? With the Steam Maiden as well. Then we got Brian Fuera with the Vanquisher, and Etienne Len with the Messiah. Sorry if I butchered your name, but I'm sure some people tune in to these to kind of see how I do with these names as well, right? And then lastly, for Premium, we have 3 Gear Chronicles Make It, then 1 Bermuda Triangle, Grand Blue, Pale Moon, Aquaforce, and Link Joker. And apparently the Link Joker was actually not deleted, it was just Chaos. That's interesting. And then what converted there in the top 4 was, we got Wives Bulma with the Steam Maiden. Then we got Clement Leblick with the Nightmare Dolls. Antoine Cahard again, right? With the Double Invite with the Highlander. And then Stefan K. Derrickett with the Steam Maiden. So we do have some lists for Premium, at least. They've been sharing it. And the first one is the Aquaforce list that came into top 8. This was by Luis. This one's your standard Thavs engine, right? Standard Thavs ride-down engine. With just basically the good cards you put it in some Rolocks. So very, very cool. Then here with Talano with the Grand Blue. This one's just a straight up like a Night Rose Beatrix. Yeah, it's basically the standard Grand Blue list that you've seen. Just kind of come with big bounty and bad bounty, sorry. And then just do Grand Blue things. And then in the last one we have here was a top 8 Steam Maiden list. And this one is pretty interesting, I have to say. You know, has the Greed on order, quite a few GB cards as well. So yeah, this is just one of them. Unfortunately, the other 2 didn't post their list, it seems. So this is how this is by Gerget-san, by the way. Pretty well known by now, I guess, right? Yeah, if you want to see more lists, hopefully they'll be up on the VG Top decks, and I'll kind of go through a bit more of it in the future. But then we also had Melbourne on the weekend, except it started on the Thursday and ended on the Saturday. Right, so first off, we have Premium. This one had 4 Narukamis make it, and then 2 Gear Chronicles, 1 Bermuda Triangle, and 1 Shadow Paladin. This was actually Raging Form Dragon, right? Premium Raging Form Dragon making it through. I think it was also running some extra. When I played it, it ran some damage increase as well, so I guess that's how it kind of surprised a bunch of people. You know, you keep them on 4 and then suddenly you go to 5 and oh, it's time to combo, right? But yeah, 4 Narukamis, 1 of them being Vanquisher. And then in the top 4 cut, we had Jackie Zhang and Mark 1 coming first and second with those Steam Maiden lists. Then we had Kai Chung, hey, with the Narukami. This is Erads, and then 4th place was Zach Virgo with the Vanquisher list. And then in the V-Prem section, we had 4 Gear Chronicle, right, lots of 4s, 2 Genesis, 1 Aquaforce, and 1 Gold Paladin as well. Again, that split between the Astral Poet and the Fenrir, right, was pretty cool. Right? Happens again. But then in the top 4 cut, we just had all the Steam Maidens destroy the non-Steam Maiden players. And yeah, that's just how it is, right? That's just deck's pretty good, right? First off, we have Derek Dow versus Kelvin Yap, and Derek Dow beat Kelvin, so it's that matchup, right? That matchup that you've probably seen a few times in BRO as well. But it is kind of like a funny rivalry that is funny internal rivalry, as well as one that you've probably seen play out in the stage. It's happened a few times in real life as well. One of them. And then we had Jimmy Shi with the Steam Maiden, and then Mark Wan who works out. Yeah, lots of WCC players making it, so pretty good. All right, pretty good. And then here in the top 8, this was Aya with the Duke list as well. And this was pretty cool, right? This is pretty cool. Normally the gold Palins we're seeing are just like the Gurgits, the remnant Gurgits that managed to make it through a Swiss somehow. But this one is kind of like a build that's probably better focused in the meta, because what you need to do is you need to go hard, at least against Steam Maidens. And Duke is a deck that can go hard. Just feel like, you know, maybe against some of the more like seasoned players, they will be able to kind of understand like when not to give damage, when to keep you down. But Duke is definitely, I think, the deck more suited in the current metagame versus Gurgit. And I just forgot to say that Melbourne top cut was a best of 3 as well. So in my opinion, it probably does benefit like a lot of the your seasoned players that have been playing the format quite a long time, because then you can like learn to adapt to things and learn the decks as they go. So yeah, bit of a difference there. And then finally for standard as well, we had the 2 Avas, 1 Prison, 1 Gravidia, Bruce, Bavsagar, Lutetia, and Leonorn, right? And then what happened in the top cuts was first place was Jia Chen Liu with the Lutetia, beating me, right, with the prison list, the good old lame old prison list. Third place was Mark Guan, and then fourth was Alexander Lee Walker with Bruce. My prison list that I played, pretty much is the prison list I've been playing the whole time. I think just changing one of the grade 2 nulls with the Melty Heart. If you want to see the list, I actually have posted already. I have a video on it. You can just check one of the older BRO videos, and there it is, right? And then here are the lists for the Lutetia, and this is a pretty standard Lutetia list, I think. And I think people have been going, no Melties? You don't have to run Melties, you can run this person instead, the Ludovine. It's more of a preference thing. I did find that running the Melties, if you use the Melties too much, you had a chance of decking out, right? But that said, you know, there will be times when you'll like play the Melty and it draws you a very key piece. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. So it's kind of down to preference, I think. And then lastly was the Leonorn list that was shared. You're wondering how did Leonorn make it, and I'm just gonna tell you, this guy played very aggressively the moment you know, he could, right? So what you do, or what he'd do, is, you know, mulligan your hand so that you have a hand that can like rush ASAP, right? And you just push, like you're trialing the moment you can. You're making a bunch of just crappy tokens, but they fill up slots that turn into like boosts that hit numbers, right? Hit important numbers early on. Force your opponent to like either guard very early or just take a lot of damage, and then you're like, since your Leonorn overall is not a great endgame anyway, as long as they're at high damage, they'll eventually just die because they just don't have enough pieces. Or if they're at low damage, but they won't have enough hand, right, to be able to just guard everything. And sometimes Leonorn can just like triple drive a bunch of crits and then suddenly win from there. But yeah, that's basically how this deck played, and it'll probably surprise a lot of players too. It just shows that, you know, with a bit of playstyle, some playstyle changes, right? Some of these decks can work pretty well. All right. And then we also had Japan. Japan had their WGB Tokyo, which was huge. Had those over 1,000 teams, which means like two blocks, right? 2 blocks. But you're gonna see some really weird decks pop up in this, and we'll see why. Again, they do just show the rival, and they cut based on that diversity cut. So that is where these weird ride lines show up, because, you know, if you see something like, you know, a Chronojet, Youthberg, and an Ebisu deck, that means if you go X1, they compare you with the X0s, and if you're less diverse, right, if you run basically the same lineup, you're basically not making it. You have to play a different lineup. But since they only check the grade 3s, that's why people are running really janky stuff. So here you get to see this guy is running a Julian deck, but the reality is that they're not running a Julian deck. This is just a Chronojet deck. They're just putting the Julian in the ride line and then manually riding the Chronojet, because you can technically search the Chronojet and then, you know, discarding it from the ride deck / riding it manually from hand is kind of the same thing, right? But yeah, the first place team was running Ebisu, Orphist, and Julian. This is first place from Swiss, by the way. Yeah, they were running Orphist. Then the second place was running Ebisu, Overlord, and Chronojet. Third was running just the Super Meta ride line with the Ebisu, Chronojet, and Youthberg. And then fourth was also running similar ride line, except with the Gravidia instead. Yeah. Then in the kind of the 5th to 8th section, we have the Chronojet, Nirvana, and Overlord. And this is where we're starting getting into the diversity cut, I think. Though they don't exactly say where. 6th was the this is not Fafnir. It's actually another Chronojet. And then Tamiyura and Youthberg as well. Yeah, with these weird ride line decks as well. Even they do have, like, some of these do have effects when going first. So, like, Chronojet itself really doesn't do much when going first. So if you're going first, you can technically ride into some of these cards and do things, right? And do things while getting you through that diversity cut kind of thing as well. In 7th place, we have another like TD Skyfall, Chronojet, and Zorgar. And then 8th, we have the Chronojet, Lutetia, and Seraph as well. Kind of. You can see why the format in Japan is a bit stale, right? But then in B block, right, we have kind of the Youthberg. We've got the meta stuff. The Youthberg, Ebisu, and Chronojet. Second was, this is Items deck, by the way. Team, not deck. Items team, right? This was a Chronojet, Ebisu, and the Proto Skyfall. Third is the same kind of lineup. Literally 3 meta lineups, and the fourth was the same. So you can easily see top 4 was just pretty much the X0s. And then in 5th place, we're starting to get into something like the Diversity Cut land. We have Flagberg, Chronojet, and Gravidia. 6th, we have the Orphist, Ebisu, and Chronojet, right? Not Bali. 7th, we have Bavsagra, Barrow Magnus, and Youthberg. And then 8th was kind of interesting. They had this is Graham Grace, Orphist, and Chronojet, but it's not Graham Grace. But we'll get to it. We'll kind of take a look at it, right? So some of these picks, some of these deck picks, right? Here we have that Orphist, one of the Orphist picks. This is the one that's just kind of doing some work, it seems. And it kind of, it's if you think about it, why it's doing work, well, Orphist can go off pretty easily, and just kind of generate big numbers as well, and just kind of push damage. So I can see why this is just doing well, right? Because you just want to rush these decks as soon as possible, make big numbers, make them suffer. And you're also running the Brant Gate slot, which is pretty much like, when you're looking at these lists nowadays, when you think of the best decks now as the Chronojet, the Ebisu, and the Youthberg, right? Both of them all aren't Brant Gate. Both of them all of them don't really have like great over triggers as well. So if you're able to just like fill a slot with a Brant Gate, I think it's still pretty good, because like it or not, you know, Elder Breath ends games randomly, which would be nice, right? Which is nice. Just having that just ends games, right? So running Orphist, aggressive deck, pretty decent nowadays, fast, and has Elder Breath. Great takes, right? Great takes. But then here's also the Zorgar deck as well. Kind of a similar idea. If Zorgar can kind of pop off really soon and get like 2 of the roaming prison dragons out early, you can start doing some aggression. Of course, it's like a 3-attack deck, but you know, Zorgar does surprisingly make a lot of hand gets pretty bulky. So if they're not careful, you know, suddenly, you know, you're rushing early, having a defensive hand, and later on still just making a big columns too, which is kind of cool. And then here we have this Barrow Magnus list. This is kind of just like an all-in Baromagnus, I have to say. You know, with Amandine now, very easy to make that 15 soul. No Persona Ride, no chance of getting the Persona Ride as well. But if you're just able to push early, again, you might as well just kill off the big decks right now. And then lastly, here's that Graham Grace list. That's just replacing the Skyfall, the Youthberg. So you're kind of, this is interesting. You're sacrificing an easy Persona Ride just for Diversity Cut. But the Diversity Cut isn't that bad. Like Graham Grace itself does kind of do something similar where you can make a 4th attack by putting it behind the Vanguard. And that's kind of like a 4th attack with Youthberg. So the main thing you're sacrificing is the like a 2nd grade 3 Persona Ride. But he's also running like even one of these old Proto Youthbergs as well. So yeah, that's basically like the gist of it. Not a terrible idea. Pretty unique. But again, you're never gonna build this way in kind of the West because we don't have a diversity cut, and thank God we don't, right? Thank God we don't. So yeah, that's just like the weird stuff going on. But yeah, that is all the lists that we have this week from the tournaments. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.